longest portion in the Torah is this tomorrow morning. If that ever was a disincentive to have people come to shul tomorrow morning, I didn't mean that. Parsha Nasso is a very, very long parsha with many different. מוזר לי לא, כאילו לדבר איתכם, שהגב שלי לכם. So, two of the most interesting parts of the Parsha, two of the, כאילו, שני הסיפורים הכי מעניינים ומאוד בעייתיים, is the story of the Nazir, the Nazarite who took a vow to abstain from wine and to not cut his hair, and its juxtaposition with a very famous part of the Torah, the priestly blessing, Birkat Kohanim. I'm sure many of you heard of Birkat Kohanim. May God bless you and keep you right. We've heard it in English, in Hebrew, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. The juxtaposition of these two pieces of Torah and a problem in the story of the Nazir, I think really moved me this week, and I wanted to share it with you. A glaring question in the story of the Nazir is that after the Nazarite, who vows to abstain from these things and becomes essentially a sannyasin or like an ascetic, it seems to be a really good thing. The Torah seems to be saying that if you decide to take upon yourselves these stringencies, to become frommer, to become more religious and more spiritual, you take on a whole series of New Year's resolutions, it would seem to be that this is a good thing, right? I remember as a kid when I went to Israel, I think my parents were hoping that I'd get a little bit more religious. I got a little bit too religious. It's like the Goldilocks of sending your kids to Israel to learn in a yeshiva. You don't want them to be too religious, not, just religious enough, just right. And I kind of missed it. But it would seem that to become a Nazir, to become somebody who has such willpower and such a dedication, is so stringent and so profoundly displaying their religiosity, that's a good thing. And yet there's a mod nazach, there's a weird thing that happens in the Torah. Davar muzar. The Nazir has to bring a sin offering, a korban chatat. Why does the Nazir bring a korban chatat? So there are differences of opinion. Those who think that you should never abstain from the world because the world is such a beautiful place and God gave it to us. This opinion is brought in the Talmud. Maimonides brings this opinion. If the world is a good place, why would you add to what the Torah did not prohibit? Who are you to become more religious than God? God said that you have to do this. And then you said, okay, God, I see your Torah and I raise you a Torah. That's weird. So the sin offering is for the hubris of a human being who thinks that they can be more religious and need to be more religious than what has already been prescribed. And maybe more importantly, in this theory, the world is a good place. Why would you abstain? The Midrash says, Al kol davar v'davar, on everything that you saw, v'lo amarta kain, and you didn't enjoy in the world, God said, atid lidein din v'cheshbon. In the future, God will bring you to account for every cheesecake and every croissant and every Haagen-Dazs that you didn't eat. The Ramban, Nachmanides, disagrees vehemently. Nachmanides says, no, the sin offering has nothing to do with the hubris. Sin offering has nothing to do with adding restrictions and circumscribing your life even more. Ramban Nachmanides says the reason why you bring a sin offering is because having seen what life is like when you have abstained, having lived a life with such purity and dedication, who are you to stop being a Nazir? Once you know the truth, once you know what it's like to live without the things that you thought were so vital and so necessary, and the clarity of mind that it brought you, the vistas that you can now see, who are you to come down off the mountain? You should have stayed on the mountain. And the sin offering is for the life that you abandoned. The Alter of Nevardok, a great 19th century Musar or ethical teacher focusing on ethics, says that Ramban's opinion, Nachmanides' opinion, is that once you have felt that place, when you come back into the world, you have Hargashat Hastira, is what he called it. Hargashas Hastira, that you now know what it is to be in contradiction. You can live a duplicitous life, somehow out of alignment with the things that you saw and the heights that you attained. You can now live a life where you can deny it, or you can fall from it, or you stop reaching for it. You say, oh, that was only on a weekend, or that was only once, that was only because of the medicine that I took, it was only because of, right, the teacher that I had. And you become now accustomed, he says, to Hargasha Sastira. You can become aware of your own contradictions and maybe even learn to ignore them. That was only then. And in this he says, there's something remarkable that you forget. And this is a Torah from the Pri Tzaddik, from Rav Tzaddik HaKohen of Lublin, a great 19th century Hasidic master who writes, one of my favorite Torahs ever. He writes that in the Torah, when the Torah tells us what a Nazir does, a Nazir essentially takes a vow, right? It's amongst a whole subset, a category of other vows. Essentially, what is a vow? A vow is you utter something and it becomes a new reality. And the word used in the Torah to describe the utterance is a strange biblical Hebrew. Ki yafli lindor neder. Ki yafli. The word lahafli, it's like a strange biblical verb, lahafli. But those who know Hebrew a little bit, you know what the word pela means? What does pela mean? Wonder. Rav Tzaddik HaKohen says, is there any greater wonder in the whole world than the minute you say, I want to become a Nazir, already now you're a Nazir? That one word, that one utterance, that one commitment. He says, the Nazir doesn't become a Nazir when they stop eating grapes and when they decide not to cut their hair. The minute you said, I'm going to become a Nazir, no, those things are no longer things you should be doing, because now what? You're a Nazir. You already became a Nazir in the moment that you said, I want to be a Nazir. And Rav Tzaddik says, the power of one word to change your reality. The power of one commitment, one stance, one perspective. That's the essence of the Torah. The Torah is, with one word, God creates the world. The movement from nothing to something was just one moment. Ki yafli lindor neder ladonai. You went and said, okay, I'm just a shmendrik. I'm just a waiter on the Upper West Side. I want to be a rabbi. I was one moment in my life. I'm sure each and every one of you, we walked around this room tonight, would say there's one word that you know that if you uttered it, it would change your life. It can be, I watched Room with a View. How many people have watched Room with a View? 1987. For those of you who were born right around that time, you have to see this movie. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. 100%. Not one Rotten Tomato. Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, unbelievable. Helena Bonham Carter. Incredible movie. And one of the main characters is the love interest of Helena Bonham Carter, who refuses to know that she's in love with this. She refuses to break off an engagement, and she's in love with someone else. And the young lover that she's denying she's in love with and who's already in love with her, he writes a question mark everywhere. He's playing with a question mark. On the back of paintings, he writes a question mark. The first scene is he has a question mark on his plate and he turns it towards her. And when they ask what it is, he's saying, life is a question, but I'm waiting for the yes. One word. And the whole movie's about, can she admit the truth to herself? Can he acknowledge that there is someone in the world who will say yes? Just one yes. Or one no. And the Nazir, according to the Ramban, is now living in a world of the feeling of contradiction, of hypocrisy, that he can want one thing and settle for something else. What does this have to do with Birkat Kohanim? Birkat Kohanim, which is immediately after the story of the Nazir. Birkat Kohanim is essentially the way that the Kohanim, the priests, had to bless people. And the Torah tells us that there's a threefold blessing. It's a threefold blessing. There are three pieces of the poem. But this bracha hamishuleshet, this threefold blessing, really, it hinges on the lack of specificity in the blessing. Ko tevarchu es bnei Israel, the blessing that the Kohanim give is not specific to a person. It's not bless each person uniquely. It's, I want to bless people generally so that God will bless them uniquely. I, as a human being, want to bless you generally because I don't know your story. I don't know what you just came from or where you're going. I don't know what word you need that will get you out of the places of contradiction. I have no idea. The power of Birchat Kohanim, not only the words that bring healing, but their generality, that they leave room for the individual to say, that wasn't my word, that's her word. That wasn't my contradiction, that's his contradiction. The Torah comes along to tell us that one word can change the world, and we don't know what that word is. You know. And that when you meet somebody and you bless them, you say, I have no idea what your word is. I don't have any idea what mountain you scaled, what valley you brought yourself out of. And with that, the Kohanim say to all of the people, I'm going to let God be the conduit for these blessings. I'll put out my hand as if to channel this, but I recognize that one word could change your world, and I want to empower you to find that word and come out of hargashat hastira, the feeling of contradiction. That's a wonder, I think. That's a wonder. The wonder that each and every one of us, as unique as we are, and as unique as the words and the rooms with views that we need, the fact that just one will release us, each and every one of us. So whatever you're holding tonight, whatever truth that you know or saw, but that you said, you know what, I'll get back to that sometime after I go and spend 20 years doing something else. It's so liberating when you know the truth, to be empowered once and for all to bring it to your mouth. That's what Pele means, right? You know that the word Aleph, Pele is the reverse of the word Aleph. Pele is Aleph backwards. And the Sfarim tell us that the mystery of Aleph, which is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it's spelled Aleph Lamed Pei, is Aleph, that letter is here in the hidden place. And that the Lamed is here in the tongue, Belashon, and the last letter Pei is on the mouth. So it's the secret of from the concealed to the revealed. It's a Pele. It's a Pele how the world outside of us can bring us to remember the Aleph that's here, the secret that we know. That we somehow said, you know, I'm done with Nazirut, I'm going back, I'm going to go to Wall Street. It's good. And then Kiyafli Lindor Neder, you bring it forward. You bring the Aleph and the wonder back and you speak it into reality. May that last word of Birchat Kohanim, right? Isa Adonai Panav Eleinu V'Yasem Lanu Shalom. That word Shalom, that word. May God bless us, right? Not only with Oz, strength, but also with that one word that can change the whole world, Shalom. May it come for all of us. And let us say Amen.